There's a line you cross you don't never come back from. Point of no return.
Strictly punishment.
It's official.
Strictly punishment.
It's time to get out of this hard
Strictly
shit.
punishment.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to startle you chaps, but I noticed you bitch niggas impersonating rap with your crew in the back. Well, how's that? I just can't see. I overnight you went from dope man to MC. Convince me with skills, mic control and lyrical appeal to destroy a challenger at will up in your grill. Can you do that? Probably not. I redefine the term hot, with or without props, regardless. Some artists get loot and then force feed you garbage, whether you like it or not. Heavy rotation polluting the blocks and sounds will not. And eventually hold #1 spots. This must stop. This is our city. So do what we say. Fake DJs are hang bloody from bridges over the freeway. Damn your village. My niggas told me to kill it. Therefore, it's game faces at a scrimmage. We live it. What? At my lecture, applying pressure to etch a sketcher. Why they go fetch a stretcher to get you? What? At my lecture, applying pressure to etch a sketcher. Why they go fetch a stretcher to get you? What? At my lecture, applying pressure. At my lecture, applying pressure. At my lecture, applying pressure. Why they fetch a stretcher to get you? Why they fetch a stretcher to get you?
I keep the throwaways for rainy days. And both gates at the gauge. Cocked and rattled to a new place. You wear the man with two faces. We not fucking with you. I jam mics in your face for mates. We not fucking with you. You faggots die and decay. I always blaze. And this is my era. Brought to you by the makers of terror. You clones and under my slums. Bigger balls. Defeat me never. I risk it. DPS running my letters and digits. I guess we born suspicious. In the wilderness they build prisons. And if you vampire, I drop a wooden stake through your heart. The evil we saw. These lectures in the bloody halls. And train your brain to be smart. This is supreme lockup. Glocks light up. Evade, bite the dust. In God we must trust. A circle of us. Turn to disgust. To take the head of the witness. Survival deals with physical fitness. Float over fences. Ghettos contain trenches. Lost religion. Prisons are big business. Why y'all niggas on my shit list? You make big hits.
Bitch. What? At my lecture, applying pressure to etch a sketcher. Why they go fetch a stretcher to get you? What? At my lecture, applying pressure to etch a sketcher. Why they go fetch a stretcher to get you? What? At my lecture, applying pressure. At my lecture, applying pressure. At my lecture, applying pressure. Why they fetch a stretcher to get you? What?
Reminiscing back to the essence, it's no time like the present. Half stepping like frats ain't the lesson, let the truth be told. Fake niggas sell they soul from drugs to gold. Mind rocket controls my goal. Explore any floor for more metaphor war. Knowledge at your door, now you soar. Too complex, the metal in your manuscript. Been in the dungeon as a druid since 86. 25 years in this hell shot world. That's why I live for a new and erase the few. 4.4 billion strong, we harm the world along. Daily thoughts channeled to a better date. When we see another way, I won't decay like tooth. Instead I build like roof, or guard like troops. Burn your buildings, my women and children, and seen the hardship, so we blaze to get a feeling. So in the end, you can die or laugh, but it's the devils that'll be bleeding. So I'm watching for these shady niggas sightseeing.
Watch where you looking, bitch ass nigga. Almighty dreadnoughts established since 86. What? At my lecture, applying pressure to etch a sketcher. Why they go fetch a stretcher to get you? What? At my lecture, applying pressure to etch a sketcher. Why they go fetch a stretcher to get you? What? At my lecture, applying pressure. At my lecture, applying pressure. At my lecture, applying pressure. Why they fetch a stretcher to get you? Why they fetch a stretcher to get you? Yeah. How y'all fake ass niggas like that shit? So you whack niggas is crumbling. Go start from scratch, rebuild the hip hop nation from the ground up. What?
Love, peace, and power. What is going on? What's up, though, everybody? Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to another Saturday night. the Mystery Arcade, Occult Multiversity, Canel Keanu, Konami Codes. I'm thankful that you were able to join me this evening. Our guest, once again, is the God 720, a.k.a. Keita Booker. I'm thankful you were able to join us yet again, brother. I want to give some quick announcements and some flowers out real quick before we get started. I want to say, first and foremost, thank you to all of my patrons, to all of my readies, all of my people who trust me and allow me to read for them. I cannot thank you enough. You allow me an air of freedom that I truly cannot put into words, and I am more and more thankful for that every day. So I want to thank you sincerely, especially Jessica. Shout out to Jessica in Texas. I want to give some special flowers out to our special honored guest that we'll be having next week, which is going to be Visa from Culturally Speaking. Shout out to Visa, all the love in the world to her and her family. For anybody who may be familiar with Brother Panic, I shade to him, Rise and Power. When Panic first came on the scene, he was on VHS tapes, you know what I'm saying? And over the years, he moved from Blog Talk to YouTube to live streaming. For those of us around the world who weren't necessarily always able to make it to live lectures or make it to certain events, Visa was the plug. She was the one always in charge of the live streaming. She was the one doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Those of you who know, you know. You say you can't hear me? Are y'all able? Keenan, can you hear me all right? I need to turn it up a little bit. How about now? You able to hear me all right? Keenan, can you hear me? Shit, you can't hear me. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yeah. You were on complete mute.
Oh,
There
okay,
we go.
yeah. I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Natasha. Greatly appreciate you. So Visa, if you know, you know what I mean? But she will be joining us next week, and I absolutely cannot wait for that. That is a treat beyond words. So I want to say thank you nice and early for that. Love, peace, and power to you, Visa. I want to say special shout out to Michael Bell out on the West Coast. How you doing, big bro? Happy birthday to your son, Dana. I want to congratulate Adika Butler from Mind Glow Books. That's www.mindglowbooks.com for releasing his first book, Treasures of Darkness, in PDF form. You can get that now at his website. I want to say congratulations on that. I want to send a special shout out to my brother Clico. Got some incredible work coming soon. Special shout out to Asir the Duke of Tears and his queen, Selena. Be sure to check out their app and their website, Cordoba Organics. Massive respect out to Black Dot and Malcolm, his son, with the Urban X podcast. Black Dot is a legend. If you don't know, you need to get familiar real quick. Massive respect out to Ra'aku. Congratulations to Michelle Gibson on her recent documentary that just came out, Old World Order, which I have not had the time to watch as of yet. I can't wait. And shout out to some other people, man, my patron, my circle, Shadow Church Tarot, Tai, Yanni, Cosmic Waters, Dr. Aleem El Bay, who's going to be coming on as well very soon. Shout out to Alex Will 64, Hero Keith Young. What up, though? Shout out to Ani Asaru. I saw you last night, man. That was doing big things with Donut and One on One, Paranoid American, and Tommy Truthful. Shout out to Paranoid American, and special thanks to Mashari for hooking that up. I'm going to be on Paranoid Americans podcast, I believe, next week. So look forward to that. Shout out to Will Copperell, man. Had a real powerful live earlier today. The Perfect Black. He was going in on a lot of things, man. Please check that out. Shout out to Dreamwise and D-Ray. Last but not least, most important, shout out to Moonfeather. Thank you for joining us in the chat. I was happy to see you come back doing lives on Wednesday. Was that Wednesday? No, that was Thursday. That was Thursday, matter of fact. Happy to see you back. Thank you for joining us. Love you. And I share to Brother Panic, my brother Black, and my mother and father, who have been coming through with confirmation after confirmation repeatedly. This last week has been amazing. I couldn't be more thankful. But that's enough of my rambling, man. I want to say welcome again to Keenan Booker. How are you doing, brother?
Fine. How about yourself?
I'm thankful, man. I'm absolutely thankful. You know what I'm saying? It's been a wonderful, wonderful week. How has the week transpired for you?
Oh, it's been the month of May has been the month of epiphany, I guess, for me. But yeah, everything's been, has been soaring. Everything's soaring like an eagle.
Excellent, excellent. I'm happy to hear it. So we went through Kicked Out of Heaven a little bit last week. I wanted to retouch that for a second before we moved on through some of your other works. Kicked Out of Heaven, Volume 1, 2, and 3. Massive set, must-own set. But essentially, it goes through the history in Volume 1. Now, that all three, of course, are history, but there's certain themes to each volume, right?
Correct.
Can you give us a synopsis of those themes?
Volume 1 is the conscious mind. Volume 2 is the unconscious mind. And Volume 3 is medieval Catholicism.
Indeed. Now, why exactly did you place them in that order? Is there a significance behind that? Was there a purpose behind that aside from the way the information came to you?
Well, Destiny is going to play out like Destiny is going to play out. At first, it was going to be a 7-volume series. Then I broke it down to 5, and then I just broke it down to 3 gargantuan series. I wanted people to. It's composed in a way. It's composed like a museum. So basically, I'm just your tour guide or your host through a museum, and I give you the information directly from the source. And I didn't want to be any quote unquote filter. I don't believe in filters. So I definitely wanted you to see it from your point of view, and you make your own, conclusions from what you've seen. And then I was giving my psychoanalytical review on the activity that was going on, because it was a lot of activity. And in order to be able to go to the medieval, you have to be knighted, basically. You have to have been through certain rites in your personal life to thoroughly comprehend what was going on. So that's the way it was designed. I wrote the series right at the beginning of the Game of Thrones. series that started out in the last year of Obama's presidency. There was a lot of killing of black males. So I wanted to understand by the police at that time. So I wanted to go in and find the color black and how it associates with the European mind. And I had to obviously go before the time period of the African slave trade in order to get that information thoroughly and see where their experiences were with black inside of old Europe.
Indeed, indeed, because you bring a lot of things to the forefront that still, to this day aren't really talked about enough, or enough people aren't truly aware of. The practices in court, for example. Um, you pointed out something years ago that always stuck with me, and the more I don't look, the more I tend to see it. The fact of pardons, when people are pardoned after hundreds of years, decades, um, a lot of people see that as completely insignificant, but there's a spiritual practice behind that. You get into that in volume one, right?
I don't necessarily go too deep in on that, but I can explain it. The essence is that you are not your flesh, you are a soul inside your flesh. So due to the fact that it is a costume, we can call your flesh an effigy. The soul is the one that is operating the effigy. So in essence, when you get incarcerated for any crime that you've committed, your soul and your effigy both, receive consequence. So to pardon somebody 100, 200 years after the fact of their death, we're basically relinquishing the soul after that. That's why a person can go to jail for several lifetimes and have years added on to those lifetimes without the possibility of parole and things of that nature.
Indeed, indeed. We got into the Black Man's Bible. That was the first book that we went into last week. Your next book after Kicked Out of Heaven, correct me if I'm wrong, that was Real Nigga Etiquette, or was that before?
Real Nigga Etiquette came out. The first one came out before volume one of the Kicked Out of Heaven. The Real Nigga Etiquette Voodoo Edition came out after the Ethereal Law. The Ethereal Law was like more so like a dissertation or leftovers from the medieval. It's a philosophy book, and Harvard Business School put it inside the category of ontology. Okay. And it was obviously used in some courses from the data that I encountered. But yeah, and ontology is a philosophy. It's a type of philosophy that was originated by Parmenides in ancient Greece.
No, thank you for that, because you just reminded me of something that's been eluding me. Can that bring? Because you went into that, I saw a couple of times with I don't want to mess his name up. Philip Shop Matthews with the series you were doing with him. Correct me if I'm wrong.
If I went into what?
You were going into well, I know you went into epigenetics, but you were what was the that series? What was that teaching specifically? With that was a 12-week
Of
course.
epigenetics?
No. The course you did with Matt, that was like a 12-week course,
I
wasn't it?
think you're. I did. I go ahead.
The course you did with Philip Shop Matthews. You did
I
like
did
a
a full webinar for all
right,
3 volumes with Shock Matthews, and then after that, we did the Voodoo edition.
right. Can you before we're gonna go back to that Voodoo edition? Can you tell us a little bit about the that course you did? Because that was dope. You know what I'm saying? We I don't see that enough.
Okay, well, if you want to see the full course, you can go to themoneyreligion.locals.com. That's where I have all my webinars uploaded for your personal viewing for those who want to sign up or subscribe. And it does cost $10 a month, but I do have a lot of private videos over there that is not on my YouTube. But in essence, we just went over many different subjects inside the 3 volume series. I can't say that we went through all of them because I have maybe close to 70 to 80 plus different subjects that were, reviewed and discussed about inside the series. So that's what went on with that. And if you were there, you're there. If you missed it, you missed it,
So that is still available.
It's only available on themoneyreligion.locals.
Okay, that's available. You know what I'm saying? You want to
Yeah. It's not publicly available, but it is privately available, basically.
Indeed. You know what I mean? You wanna make that known. You know what I'm saying? Now back to
Right.
this real nigga etiquette. What was it about voodoo? What
Mhm.
was it about real nigga etiquette itself that gave you that infusion? Was that something you always wanted to do, or did that come to you after you had already come out with the original edition?
Well, everybody loved the real nigga etiquette, the first one, but that was more like a street code book, and that was for like street people. And the voodoo edition, it was supposed to be synonymous or very close to the original one, but that's not where the stars led me. The stars led me down a completely different route. And I got so infuriated with the information that it just ended up being published how it was published, and I just let the title go. I didn't really put too much energy towards the title, put too much energy towards the cover, and things that I did like my other books. I mean, the back cover of the Real Nigga Etiquette Voodoo edition has a lot of energy on it as well, and that was done on purpose. But the information dealing with the islands is a very angry energy. So I guess that sort of got inculcated with me during the course of writing it. I had to figure out what was really going on. And there's a lot of things that'll definitely make you mad as an African American, correlated to the activities of the islanders and the Caribbeans, and what was done in the Breaking Islands before America was established, and the origins of African American culture. Also due to the fact that I understood who the saints were with all my medieval research. So by the time I got to the Caribbean, one of the main reasons why I wrote the book was because I never could find any literature on the activities of the Caribbean and what was going on, what happened, and because they always, our black scholars like Joseph Ben Yakinen or John Henry Clark, they refer to the area as the Breaking Islands. Well, then how did they break the people? Why is it titled the Breaking Islands? And then all the majority of the islands are named after saints. So I understood who the saints were, and how they operated by going through medieval Catholicism. And it was also the medieval times is basically when all this activity in the Caribbean started as well. So I definitely wanted to uncover what the true reasoning on why the islands were named after saints. And that's one. But two, I remember as a child, they would always show the carnival and on TV, and it would be a big celebration. And there's a lot of different characters that are being represented, and I didn't know what was going on, but I knew it was more than just a large party. So that stuck with me all the way into adulthood, and it remained as a question to answer during the course of this literature what the carnival really was. And I found out. And if you were to know what the carnival really is, it would make you very mad. So, that's the gist of the material that's in that book, besides a long list of slave ships and what occurred on those slave ships and who were the captains. Some data from Christopher Columbus, also Bartholomew de Casas, who was the bishop who was down in that location, and many other things that occurred in the islands that we didn't know anything about. So somebody had to do it, just like the medieval series. Somebody had to do it. These are large questions that were sitting on minds that a lot of people wanted to ignore.
Indeed, yeah, most definitely. What was it about Gad? Was it? I know it was more than just the play on words, because it sounds like God. You know, um, the Gad edition. Um,
Okay, you have more to say, or you want me to answer the question?
no, that was it.
Okay, so I'm just looking behind me to see if I got the book up here. I think yeah. I think all of those copies are gone. But the Gad actually came from, and it is enunciated as God, GAWD. Okay, that's how it's enunciated, and it's a Jewish word. And what happened was during the course of the research on the islands and everything that was going on, I ran into a website that was it was a Jewish website, and it had a concordance box there. So I said, let me go ahead and the stars is like put 720 in there and see what happens. So I put the 720 in there, and it showed up GAD and Gad. So I had to research who Gad was, and Gad was actually the seventh son of Jacob. And it goes further and further and further. There's a lot of hardcore metaphysics that was directly related to me and my position. And also the fact that when you look up the word Gad, it shows it the numbers. Well, you know how in Hebrew letters equal numbers, but the letters look like the numbers 72. So it was very significant to where I was at, and also to comprehend the magic systems that were put in place to create the African American culture and to confine everything that was in the islands is a Judaic level of magic, basically. So that's where I was at with my understanding, and I put it all out, and I was basically through the composing of that literature, I was knighted as Gad, which is obviously a situation since birth. I mean, it even goes into my birth name, Keenan, which finds its origins as Cain, and that goes back to Cain and Abel. And also the mark of Cain. The mark of Cain, when you look up the mark of Cain, it says the mark of the tetragrammaton on the arm or on the face. And there it is. I didn't know that. I did this because this tetragrammaton actually equals to the number 72 underneath IHVH, which is another version of YHVH, which is Jehovah. And I got this tattoo in 2020. So that was the time period of the COVID, and that is also the same year when the Voodoo Edition was put out, and also the Poltergeist album. All right, so you know, it was a lot of synchronicities that equaled in. You know,
Yeah, most definitely. It's like it demands to be seen. It demands to be expressed. Um, most definitely. Um, from there, we go to the ethereal law. Is that next in order?
no, Ethereal Law was before the Voodoo Edition.
Can you tell us about that, please?
The Ethereal Law, right here. Okay, and that's the back of the book. And this is the album that goes with the book is the Shaka Zulu. Okay.
Now, as you're holding that up, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. As you're
No, go
holding
ahead,
that
bro.
up, can you show us the back of that one more time? Because that's one of my favorite images. That is a beautiful way to show you that everything is yours. To understand that you correspond with all of these different cultures, all of these different symbols, all of these different frequencies, to understand that it's all you and nothing is singular.
Mm-hmm.
I love how that is displayed. Please continue.
Yeah. Um, at that time, I was developing a lot of medieval squares. A lot of information really like hit my head like a lightning bolt after completing the 3 volume series. And a lot of my fans were casting the energy that, oh, he done went white boy. So, and it was never that. I know how to maintain myself. And a lot of people have a problem with themselves, and they feel as if they need to follow somebody or follow some way. And I don't have that, issue. And that's part of the reason why the album is called the Shaka Zulu, which a lot of this energy correlated with this book is directly related to the, Nipsey Hussle. This was during the same time period of when he passed. This is also the same time period when the Pope was coming out talking about they discovered Jesus' stairs, and they were saying that whiskey was the holy water and things of that nature at around 2020. So, yeah, that I had to put a lot of what the ethereal law is the laws that are written inside the atmosphere that humans cannot break, and these laws were designed out of the repetitive activity of humans since the caveman stages, since Adam and Eve, or whatever you want to call it. Since our hominid origins, we have conducted behaviors with each other that have over time built metaphysically in a specific way where it has composed itself as a law. So, for instance, what goes on in the dark comes to light. That's one of them, just to be short and sweet with it. But there's a lot of other ones that we feel as if we want to break because of the course of technology, and they will never be broken. Technology is not going to break anything. Technology is reliant upon humans and their development or their dedication towards it. And as we have already seen with, AI or Chat GPT taking a lot of jobs, it is a self-sabotage and a very destructive system. So technology and the reliance on the internet is not going to survive. And everybody's trying to run from the rules and regulations of religion, or and basically the ethereal laws that have been imposed on us because we're just born into this scenario, and humans have been here for eons before us. So to try to subscribe to some new system is a falsehood. And Revelations has come because of that, and Gad is actually highly involved in all of that. It's inside Revelations, the book of Revelations, talking about the Lion of Judah will open up the books. He will open up he will come with the horns, and he would for the horns for the people who have ears to hear, and also the 7 eyes, which is correlated to reading literature. So that's what you're looking at right now, and that's in Revelations 5. So humans want to play a game, and they'll get taught a lesson for it. To be short and sweet.
Yo, most definitely. That's also a reference to the 7 major chakras, and what came later was the in the form of churches. Yeah, and Revelation is, in prophecy-wise, is actually the first book. You know what I'm saying? But that's another story. Okay, so from there we go to 7, right? Am I right? The book
7, the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, that's one of those sort of like forgotten books. When you're a real author, especially in the nonfiction realm, you usually have a pamphlet that's floating around that you wrote, or some small book that you wrote that's floating around that's hard to attain. And that's basically what that book is. 7, the book, is explaining 7 in existence, the 7 wonders of the world, the 7 seas, so on and so forth. And it also goes through 7 in different mythology systems. Okay. So that's basically what that book is. It's just the science of the number 7 and where it's found in the multitude of different areas in existence.
Do you have a favorite quote from that book?
From the 7 book?
Yes, sir.
Oh no. I mean, I wrote it in the space of just keeping my whole author energy alive, things like that. The 7 possibilities being rich or poor, parenthood and or marriage, robbery, failure, to be unliked and or lonely, and you will be chosen. The different 7s. See what I got right here? So I just got a list of 7s everywhere. On it's a philosophy book. Like I just looked at this one right here. It says, "Love the woman because there's no other form of heaven." To live in imagination is to stab the soul. So.
Indeed. 7 in numerology. 7 is often thought of as the key to the so-called matrix, or the key to the realm, the key to the world. We have 7 days, 7 seas, which is very interesting for those who may have seen it or may have actually traveled. The seas don't merge. For anybody who may have taken certain cruises or just been out in the oceans, they don't actually mix. You can see the differences in color. You can see the seams. Even the garbage. The garbage won't cross the threshold, so to speak. Everybody knows about 7 major chakras and 7 major systems, but the deeper you look, the more you see that there's more than 7. 7 is what's obvious to the eye. When it comes to astrology, there's 7 planets we can actually view with the naked eye, which actually brings us back to that 72, because there are supposedly 2 that we cannot see. And they aren't actually planets, the planes of existence, but that's a whole nother story. That, correct me if I'm wrong, leads us to the Encyclopedia of the Alchemy of Women. Or did I miss
indeed.
something? Can you please tell us about those only existing physical copies you have? Tell us a little bit about that. I was I was looking through them over the course of this last week, um, and it is extensive. The amount of goddesses, I haven't seen this since Volume 3. Volume 3 of Kicked Out of Heaven, you have all of the Black Madonna references, right?
Hmm.
This is it really one ups that. It takes it to the next level because the amount of goddesses that you have in these tomes is incredible. Can you please tell us about these?
Yeah, I have goddesses inside the encyclopedia. That's Egyptian goddesses, Greek, Roman, Nordic, Celtic, Assyrian. There's Japanese goddesses, Chinese goddesses, Hindu goddesses, Mayan goddesses are all inside. And I'm not stating that all of them are inside the encyclopedia, just the ones that are pertinent to the subject, and the ones that are pertinent, I say that because of the names. So you'll find girls today that are named Athena. So then you need to know what Athena represented. As names, the female names are the source of where we bleed off into the goddesses. Now, when it comes to the Egyptian goddesses that are inside of the encyclopedia, they are there on the basis of the origin of human existence and the origins of ancient Egypt. Okay. So, and then there's a couple of other ones that aren't part of the origin, but are definitely pertinent to the energy that and the different facets of women that are in existence right now and the energies that they represent pertaining to different goddesses. You know.
Indeed, indeed. Um, Volume 2 is significantly, well, not significantly, but it's a little bit bigger than Volume 1, but I have been having fun. The amount of Sumerian and Akkadian goddesses are very rarely mentioned. Certain people, I'm not even going to mention their names. Certain people, because of certain people, you hear a few more, you hear a little bit more about the Sumerian gods as of late. But to those who study, you can see in etymology their power in other places. So there's a lot attached to that. Are you planning on having physical copies again soon?
Most likely not. Most likely not. It's funny you mentioned the Sumerian goddesses because Inyana, which is inside the name Anna, Hannah, and also girls who are named Inyana, they represent and mirror the energy from the original Inyana, which is in Sumeria. 9 times out of 10, I will not have physical copies of the Encyclopedia on the Alchemy of Women. You'll have to get it on Amazon, and on Amazon, they are $200 for each copy. So that means for each volume. So that means you'll be spending around $400. And then I will be releasing the hardcover soon, and that'll also be on Amazon, and that'll be about 250. And I will have copies of the hardcovers, so but they'll be on order. But yeah, that's where we're at with that. As of current, you can go to thewomansalchemy.com and get the ebook, which is automatically downloadable. It's a PDF. And yeah, so what did you think about what you saw in there?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'll be thrilled. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe Monday, I can finish it, or at least finish going through it. But the detail is extensive. That I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
The amount, I haven't seen an amalgamation of deities, especially goddesses, on this level since maybe uh, ancient dictionary of, or what is that? Encyclopedia of ancient deities. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I think that's Patricia Turner. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, it's magnificent, but it's needed. You know, everybody. I was talking to several people today about this in particular. Everybody doesn't read. You know, everybody doesn't. You know, I don't want to make it seem like you have to read these books. I would recommend owning them, because if nothing else, you know, you don't necessarily have to read it, but in terms of reference, you know, in terms of, you know, owning a piece of history, in terms of course, support, but, you know, intellectually, there's a lot of information that is available in these tomes. Love, peace, and power, Patri. Thank you for joining us. Be careful driving, but thank you so much for tuning in.
Hmm.
Um, love to you and George.
Hmm.
Um, you know, these I cannot recommend them enough. Um, go ahead.
No, all I was gonna say was shouts out to all the beautiful women in the room, of course. Um, Moonfeather, Sherry, Patri, everybody. One thing that's part of the alchemy of the encyclopedia is that when a woman from every race has written a definition inside that book, and many things that I discussed with women are inside that book. Even especially one of the most important things that are defined inside that literature is the definitions of the chemicals inside of makeup. So that's very important. And some ladies do know, some ladies don't know. And as I have asked a woman, she told me that, you know, I asked her what percentage of the woman's world do men not know? And she said 80%. We do not know 80% of what they live and how and what they go through or how they view things. And that 80% of what we don't know is also could be the root of the anger that men project toward in these podcasts and the very disheartening situations that we see on the news and things of that nature, you know. So it was important for us to go inside of this, and the reason being is one of the most important parts is that lead is the main ingredient inside of lip gloss and lipstick. So if a little girl is putting on lead and she starts putting on lipstick or lip gloss that's not even lipstick, and by the ages of 12 to 15 she starts, by the ages of 25 we're looking at lead poisoning, and that has affected her decision making, that has affected her response to the environment, and also her relationship with men. And that's part of the reason why media was socially engineering everybody to look at a female's quote unquote insanity as fun, or for it to be attractive, or, you know, telling women that men should view it as attractive and something endearing, and that we should, you know, entertain these levels of quote unquote insanity. And these levels of insanity are actually coming from the chemicals in the makeup, which by majority rule, if you want to go further than just the lipstick, it's also in the creams that are being used. It's also in the powder that they put on the face, and all of those things are defined inside the encyclopedia. But lead is one of the number one chemicals that are used inside female makeup. The standard right now is that the average female gains 5 pounds of chemicals alone a year through her usage of makeup. You know, so
It's interesting because I remember a few years ago, Alicia Keys kind of made the news, so to speak, because she was going natural and wasn't wearing makeup. And I remember the flack she kind of got for that. Now she got flack for a lot of other reasons too. I ain't gonna go into all that shit, but I understand also, the origins of makeup, what it really entails in terms of whales, perfume. Um, I cannot think of the name of the movie. I will put it in the comments after this. But there's a movie that's almost like a documentary that shows you, a lot of the origins of whale hunting, and how perfume had a lot of its origin there. But the chemical, the idea to put lead and different additives into makeup, that comes from the masculine world. You know what I mean? Especially when we look at the idea of Western civilization and culture and the idea of cosmopolitan and all this, pushing the European, so-called European, Anglo-Saxon white woman as the standard of beauty when that was never the case. It's led to a lot. It's definitely led to a lot. If we were to get into the insanity, we'd be playing around in Volume 1 all day. Volume 1 and Volume 2 specifically. I wanted to change gears just a little bit. You mentioned something earlier, and you've talked extensively about AI. I got a clip I want to play real quick, and I want to get your thoughts on it afterward.
Okay.
Disrupt Hollywood, steal your job, completely gut the income of hundreds, if not thousands, of creatives. And the reason you didn't see it coming and don't know how to stop it is because you don't know enough about Hollywood's Black origins. I'm Justin Simeon. I am the filmmaker behind Dear White People, the film and the series. I've also made 2 other feature films. All of my work tends to connect the past to situations in the present in some way. So AI is really not new to Hollywood. It's just that this process of stripping the innovations of creators from those creators so that corporations can scale up their profits is primarily something that's been happening to Black people. And nobody listens to Black people. The point is animation. Like, have you ever really thought about why so many of the classic animated characters all have black bodies that are rubbery and can move in ways that white people find confounding? Have you ever thought about why so many of them wear white servants' gloves, speak in very thick and strange exotic accents? Why so many animated characters tend to be so subversive in their comedy? Well, this all comes from minstrelsy. Minstrelsy is America's first popular culture and its first cultural export. And it's a perfect example of AI in action before there was really a term for this. So minstrelsy really comes about during the last days of slavery. White people, completely unaware that their slaves were making fun of them, and they started imitating Black people for their own entertainment. Now, this takes off because white people in America who have just basically stripped themselves of any of their ethnic entanglements from whatever countries they came from or their parents came from, well, they're really looking for culture, and they were fascinated by what Black people were doing despite really having nothing. But even then, there were all of these codes and rules and audience expectations in place that essentially ensured that Black people themselves could never participate in minstrelsy nor benefit from it financially or socially. Until 2 Black performers come along, Burt Williams, George Walker. These are Black men who bill themselves as 2 real coons, who could basically slip into the derogatory aesthetics of minstrelsy and do it better than any of their white counterparts. Now, Burt Williams would go on to become America's first Black superstar. This was the first Black man to headline the Ziegfeld Follies. Burt and George were the first Black people to put on a show on Broadway. These were stages and places that Black people just were simply not allowed before these 2. Black people don't really talk about Burt Williams all that much because of the blackface. It reminds us of, frankly, the shame that is constantly being projected onto us. And white people don't really talk about Burt Williams because white people have a kind of historical and cultural amnesia that seems inherent to whiteness. Reversible. And if you're white and you're watching this, you're taking the first step. The brilliance of Burt Williams is he played this character that was similar enough to the Jim Crow stereotype that white people accepted him on stages. But once he was there, that character was consistently the most clever on stage. He was wise and he was subversively funny, and he snuck little messages under the radar to the black people watching in the balcony seats. His characters regularly used other characters and society's low expectations of him to essentially get one over on his oppressor. He had many hit songs. His biggest hit was called Nobody. This is basically the Thriller of the early 1900s, complete with juxtaposing images of the man and the monster that he was forced to play on stage. He did this deliberately so he could remind people whenever possible of the cognitive dissonance endured by a society that both celebrates black culture and denigrates black people. I might have to do another video breaking down Nobody and its brilliance, but essentially this is one of the greatest satirical works of the 20th century, and it really should be enshrined in the American Songbook. Even Nina Simone did a brilliant cover of it. And anyway, this archetype of the perceived fool using the blindness of his oppressors to his innate humanity to essentially liberate himself from said oppression, that's really at the heart of every cartoon character you've ever loved. And you have Burt Williams and, dare I say, thousands upon thousands of disenfranchised, nameless black people to thank for it. So what does this have to do with AI, and how do we escape the AI apocalypse that is currently happening to Hollywood? Well, study what black people did and what we continue to do inside of an industry that routinely strips our innovations and uses those innovations to keep us disenfranchised inside of the caste system that we're forced to labor under.
Well, that was a nice history lesson. And for anybody who's seen those movies in that series, Dear White People, you understand just how brilliant that man speaking was. What are your thoughts on that, bro?
I mean, you know, it's the thoughts on the minstrel time period or the thoughts on AI right now?
All of it. Give it to me.
Well, the minstrel time period and what was going on in between the 1800s and the 1900s is a very confusing picture. There was a lot of racism, of course. There was also a lot of different unification that was going on. That's where we get the development of the mulatto, the octoroon, the quadroon, the quildroon, so on and so forth, the Negro, the Sambo, the colored. All of these are different classifications of how much of what race you had mixed into your picture. So, you know, when it comes to minstrels and theater and acting, acting has wide boundaries. It's very vast. After this minstrel time period, a lot of black people saw Hollywood or the whole area of entertainment as the way to get out and to get out of the poverty-stricken environments that they were in. Entertainment has a very long history that supersedes the African American slave trade system. Even in old Europe in the medieval times, it was stated about Moors and Saracens and you know, them having the little Abu monkey and trained monkeys and tightrope and, you know, all of that type of tightrope walking in between buildings and jester activity as well. And the jester that we saw in the old Europe that developed into the clown or the Joker that we see today, or even the WWE wrestler, was not necessarily just that in the 1100s. The jester memorized a lot of history, and it was cited in very long poems, and they were the entertainment of the king's court. And even before that time period, and you go further back, and the 800s, the 900s, the 1000s, when the Moors were ruling Europe, they had jousting was a game, and a lot of the games that you see in the cartoon Alice in Wonderland were actually from that time period, and white people were used as the brunt of the joke, basically. So there is, a lot of things that were used with our little minstrel time period that we're still operating off of today. Can we not say that the modern day rapper or our modern day entertainment is synonymous with minstrel activity, the sexy red, and all of the things that we're witnessing with so-called black entertainers of today? We're still seeing it, and what we're looking at is a lack of um, a desire for intellect, and to expand the mind in a mass amount of realms. The black culture is in sort of a fear-stricken space of investigating other cultures and trying to internally build our own with a air of etiquette on how we move and operate. We don't do that. And for those who do, well, for those who impose that they do, our higher um class of blacks in America, the black caucus, or those who are involved inside the fraternities and the sororities, completely keep their distance from the the majority group of African Americans here. So it's a reliance on entertainment to escape poverty, and that's what we're doing, and that's what we're still doing. And that's really a space where a lot of black people feel as if that's the only thing they have in order to get out of poverty. And then the AI is just all self-sabotaging, which is an exploit of the human DNA, where humans, they don't like themselves, they don't like their environments. They do a lot of things to themselves that they modify themselves, or they mutilate themselves with tattooings and piercings, and the bone in the nose type thing. And we also mutilate ourselves with addictions and a lot of other things that is definitely being exploited by the AI, and the AI is the replacement of the human workload, because humans aren't reliable. We call into work, we want to sue the company, we we can attain diseases, we might sleep and show up to work late, and a robot won't do any of those things. We have to understand that the AI is only the mind of the robot, and the mind has to be developed first, okay, before we can put the physical entity that represents that mind. Okay, and that mind is staying sufficient and is collecting the data of human operation through what we call the Skynet, which is the alliance of all the different satellites that are in the sky and that are around the planet. And please note that in the medieval times, a satellite was a word to refer to a demon.
Indeed, indeed. Um, you know, when it comes to the menstrual time period, when it comes to what's really the birth of entertainment in the West, especially here in North America, um, the the characters, the Zip Coon, the Sambos, the Aunt Jemimas, the Mammies. Um, Not only were these the first superstars, uh, superheroes, if you will, they were also sex objects, especially the Mammy. which is still largely untalked about, except that everybody and their fucking mother has seen the picture of the mammy breastfeeding a black child on one breast and a white child on the other, right? Um, if we look at the current state of mainstream hip hop, which I pay absolutely no attention to, is essentially all zip coon. On top of the fact that there's this universal style that everybody seems to have, whether they're male or female. Um, it's a absolute tragedy. Um, but the mimicking of not just popular culture, but artificial intelligence, because the number one thing is copying, as always, is us. Um, and the strange thing is, because of a number of things: lack of awareness, lack of understanding, lack of attention to certain areas other than just what makes you pop or titillate. We don't recognize how it's also being used against us or being weaponized. But that's true with so many things, like Moonfeather pointed out with the makeup, with her comment. There's so many aspects that we could actually get into, but here specifically, the idea of entertainment essentially all comes from this. Going forward, I see more mimicry, I see more mockery, because that's just what pays the bills, and it's what's being fed into. This idea of the death of celebrity seems to be increasing certain celebrity, because when if you're on the bandwagon for something, okay, cool, you riding. If you're not on the bandwagon for something, that's like, yo, fuck them, but it's the same energy. You understand? Like, as opposed to just shutting the fuck up and not feeding it. You know what I'm saying? There's an energetic level, there's a spiritual level that we have to eventually recognize and get to.
Right. Well, there's also an eyesight level. One thing that I've noticed over time is that Native people really don't like to deal with reality. They want to impose some type of falsehood and expect for everybody to stay silent about reality. And when it comes to a lot of the things that we call racist imagery, like minstrels or things of that nature, um, you have to understand that that's just how white people see things. It's not, and that's why they can act like, you know, they don't understand why you're responding to it as a racism, because that's just the way they see things. And nobody, and that's bounces back to what I was stating about a native. The native's mind has a position that everybody is supposed to see things the same way that they see things, and that's not how it works. Everybody has a different point of view, or everybody has a different eyesight on how things operate, but then there's a bottom line that's irrefutable. So when we're looking at minstrels, the fact of the matter is that Europeans would, once they got Africans on slave ships, they would make them dance in chains, and make them dance and make them consistently dance. Sometimes they would dance until they died. But that also bounces back to the dancing mania in the medieval times, where they danced until they died. So maybe they were trying to cover up a lot of their own history, which this 3-volume series definitely proves why they have fed the world their history in these cute Lord of the Ring formats, or the cute little Harry Potter or things of that nature, and make you accept it in the Walt Disney format instead of, and they're giving you the reality of what occurred, but they're giving it to you in different formats. So for instance, the dancing mania, there's reports from the 1400s in Germany of individuals dancing in one location until they kicked up so much dirt around them that they were all the way in the ground up to their neck. And we have seen that same imagery with Bugs Bunny. They're showing you that it occurred, but they're not showing you the full gist of what's stated in the information on what was occurring. Okay, so you have to understand that when you're looking at Walt Disney, minstrels, Hollywood, or anything of that nature, we're talking about European history space. So, and until you understand European history, you don't know what you're looking at. So, for instance, I could pull up another site that you all have had in your mind or from a movie, and that is an individual or a zombie type individual walking holding its arm, and that's really documented in history, that during the ergot plagues, and ergot is a chemical that is developed from rotting rye on wheat, and they would put the wheat in, and they would have to eat regardless if the rye was rotted or not, because they needed to survive. It would show up like red spots in their bread when they baked it. That is also where communion comes from, by dipping the bread into the red wine. Okay. And once they would eat this wheat, they would be highly intoxicated. As in today's status, ergot is the root chemical for LSD. Okay. So they would take this uh, ergot in its raw format. And one of the side effects of ergot is that it would rot your cartilage in between your bones. So they would be so high in the hallucinogen format that their arm would actually rot off and fall off. And they would see it and pick it up and carry it with them. Okay. And you've seen that scene in a multitude of different movies, whether it be a zombie movie, whether it was a Terminator type movie. Remember Terminator? They had the fascination over the lost arm, or the arm that was off, and they put it in a glass case and things of that nature. Which there's many arms that are in glass cases that are actually relics of saints as well. So that's a whole nother layer of the game. And so yeah, that was one scene. Another scene is dancing with the carcass. You've seen many white males in their films in Hollywood dance with a rotten carcass, and that is also related to ergot poisoning, and that's also related to a lot of the situations that were experienced during the course of the Black Plague, the Black Death in 1347. Okay, so yeah.
That's wild. That's really, really wild because, like, when it comes to the Bugs Bunny, especially with Elmer Fudd, you would typically see um, a lot of inversion. You would see a lot of cross dressing. You would see a lot of hunting. You would see a lot of opera singing and orchestra, opera music, which was war music at one time, right?
Mhm.
And of course, we know Beethoven and Mozart. These were actually darker melanated beings. Um, what you talk about with the manias and the bodies of zombies, it reminds me of a movie, not just a zombie movie. You see that in many facets. Requiem for a Dream. Jared Leto, he was a heroin addict, like well, everybody but the mother was on heroin, and he loses his arm. It rots. You know what I mean? And then, as you speak about the ergot, I'm thinking about Weekend at Bernie's. They made like two or three of those. You know what I mean? Where they're carrying around this decomposing body, and it's the funniest shit in the world. Like, this is, but they're also showcasing their culture. They're showcasing, their history, but they have to. Well, we can argue, you know what I'm saying? They don't have to, but they're putting it in such a way where it's acceptable, as opposed to just like, this is what we did, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Because, it would be so appalling. But if you're
Mhm.
making someone laugh, it's kind of like R. Kelly, the fucking disgusting shit he was actually doing. But because he's making these fucking hits and you're shaking your ass in the club, it's all right. You know what I mean? And then once that ended, he was able to, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit.
Right, right, right. Laughing is a form of acceptance.
Exactly. Exactly. But
Right.
and it's funny because on the other side of that, the most truth is said in jest. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
don't hide about that. Um, I wanted to switch gears a little bit and hear about your music, especially because um, we mentioned this last week. We didn't really get into it, but a lot of most of your books are accompanied with an album.
Correct.
Um, can you speak about not just the albums that accompany what books, but the energy? Because each book is kind of like a child, right? Like it has its own name, its own birthday. Even in Kicked Out of Heaven, the directions they move in is so unique. Can you speak about that process a little bit?
Um. Well, I was given a lot of beats for the monster. I think I explained this on the first one with the monster album. And then out of nowhere, just people just kept on giving me beats, kept on giving me beats, kept on giving me. So I just, I'm a respectful person. So, if a producer likes the way I rap and they want to hear me on their beats and I like the beat, then I make the magic happen. And I did the Monster album with the Black Man's Bible, and then I did the Onyx tablet with the Real Nigga Etiquette, and it just kept rolling and kept rolling and kept rolling and kept rolling. And it just spilled out. And I have more albums than I have books now. But all of my books, including the Encyclopedia on the Alchemy of Women, Volume 1 and Volume 2, have separate albums. Now, it's in soundtrack format, and even though on my albums I'm not talking about what's inside the books, because music is music, and to me music is supposed to reflect the different experiences of life. Music is not music is not an area to intellectualize. I think that's a form of laziness. If you want to intellectualize and if you're going to be seriousness, I mean, if you're going to apply seriousness or be serious about, um, bringing your philosophy, your research, or your dogma to the literature format, then put it in a book. It's not to be put it on a song, and we don't need secret codes, and we don't need, 2-3 layers of metaphors. We don't need all of that nonsense. Just be direct with what you're saying and say it, you know. Otherwise, get off the toilet shit or get off the pot type of thing. And so I put the intellectualism inside the books, and I put the music and I put, the experiences of life on music, and that's how it works for me. If you want to convolute things and water down things however you want to, go ahead and do that. I don't think it's necessary. And one thing about my music is definitely composed in the format to capture and to be a time capsule for the music that we were raised with, not this electronic nonsense that's going on now. It's just like I saw an interview the other day of Hall and Oates, and he was also forewarning about this technology music that people have been uh, promoting and advancing into other areas, that is actually the sound of the robot. It's not human, it's not related to human, and it's not for the human experience. As we've been dealing with the more of this auto tune and technical type music, we've seen more death rates, we've seen more overdoses, we've seen more confusion. Now we're in the status of gender confusion, and a lot of nonsense that's being promoted in our schools and whatnot. Our children aren't being taught any form of love through music. We were all taught to stick together in the course of a relationship, through individuals like the Isley Brothers or the Earth, Wind and Fire or Isaac Hayes or Patti LaBelle, Etta James, and real music where man was singing to woman and woman was singing to man about the ups and downs and the woes of relationships and let's stay together type thing. And now we don't have that music for our children, and they don't have any true desire of staying with a mate. Or the younger generations they want to promote a form of separatism and think that that's going to be able to sustain a household. And in reality, the household is the motherboard system of a society, and each household is being broken down because of a lack of love, and that's between the parents and the parents with the children, and so forth and so on and so forth. There's a large system of neglect going on, and through that neglect we see the collapse of society. And one of the systems that maintain that is music. Okay, so yeah.
I definitely dig that. I definitely dig that. To be intentional in all things is something to always strive for, but definitely in terms of music. Um,
Right, that's why you always hear females on my songs, on every album. I think I only have maybe one or two albums where I don't have, a female on the hook, or her involvement with the production of my music.
Most definitely, you must have that feminine energy. Again, like I'm checking out the comments. Like Moonfeather says, speaking to Petrie, the attack against women is all too real. That's always the case, and it's becoming. Um, it's an 8 energetic year. So I would like to say it's coming to a head for a lot of people. It is because um, you can't you can't be fake. You can't be against women. You can't be against femininity. You can't be against what actually nurtures and survive. Especially not just where we are, but especially what's coming. Some people get that. Some people have to learn the hard way. You see it consistently in the mainstream. I'm so tired of the Diddy conversation or the Terrence Howard conversation. But these things become fuel sources, um, not just for bullshit random conversation, but people monetize off of these kind of things. People feed on these kinds of things, and until what we choose to eat or we choose to consume, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. It's going to be slow going, but the amount of attention we give it ultimately is what matters or not. It costs you nothing if you pay it no mind. Before we get out of here, is there anything you would like to plug? Anything you would like to speak about, shout out, question, comment, anything at all?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, um, women attack women. That is all too real. We get on the internet every day, and what do we see? We see women fighting women in a lot of locations. Um, that's the club, while they're drunk and at a fast food restaurant. Men attack men, and they've been doing it for eons. It's called war. Women drag men to court and exhaust them of all their finances, poison them with antifreeze in their soup, and serial killers, men attack women. Lionesses will kill a lion, a male lion. Praying mantises rip off the heads of their mates. You know, so we can go through every single layer of existence um, pertaining to living beings, whether that be in the waters, whether that be insects, whether that be mammals, whether that be birds. You will find attack, you will find killing. This is nature. That's just the rules. Just like also in existence, you'll never find a time period that wasn't complained about. Every single time period of human existence has been complained about. We all strive for a perfection that will never be. So this is the illusion space. Dealing with reality is a problem for a lot of people. Um, it's not a problem for me. Um, hence, that's why I was able to deliver my son with his mother inside my home, videotape it, put it up on YouTube without any midwife or any assistance from anybody. Okay. Um, because I take things into my own hands once I see a failure in your hands. Okay. I don't play around with my existence like that. You know, part of the reason why I wrote these books in the format that I wrote them. That is just existence. You know, you're on a planet of killers from ants to atom bombs. Is that not the truth? Um, so these are the realities that we deal with. Okay. You know, people want to scream, woe me, and sympathy, as you'll read in the volume 1 of the Kicked Out of Heaven, is the number one tactic used by a beggar. Okay, is to to try to conjure sympathy out of your system, so you will give them charity and alms so they can survive without doing any work. Which, in essence, we will all work for our security and for our growth. Even the one who lied and sat there and with their trickster arts in order to hustle money out of you is in essence working to create that trick. So, you know, that's what the development of robots is. You know, we're trying to get away from workload, but once you see about robots is that we're maintaining the robots once we create them, and maintaining a robot is work. So you will never get away from the work. You can continue to lie to yourselves about a lot of things, and you know, you'll just end up being a dog chasing its own tail. And this is just the reality of existence. I didn't make it this way. I was born in 83, you know, so this system had been operating like this far beyond before I got here. So don't blame yourself for the way it's moving. um you you're going to have to um what's the word I'm looking for? You're going to have to engage a lot of these elements during the course of your life. It's wise to know what they are so you can be analytical and strategical on how you engage it for your survival or for your gain. And that is just our picture, you know. Um, there's no way around it. And we're not going to get away from it until we hit the casket, you know. And that is just a reality. So, you know, where there is a will, there is a way. And what that statement really means is to have your will prepared for the way of your children so they don't have to, so they can engage with the insanity of existence at a minimal. Okay. You must minimize it because they're still going to engage, because the root definition of our existence is the fact that you're going to experience emotions. And these emotions, if you don't have control about them, on them, they can shorten your existence. So, you know, there's many ways to go about it. Educate yourselves, stay beautiful, you know, operate in a lane of common courtesy, which is definitely one of the definitions of the Kicked Out of Heaven series is to operate inside the realm of common courtesy, because if you don't understand history, you do not understand the extremes of what humans will do to other humans. And when you understand those extremes, your common courtesy will skyrocket. And you'll also have a lot more honor to how you operate, and and your self-preservation, and you'll think a lot more highly of yourself. And it's wise for you to think highly of yourself. And yeah, that's it. You know. And oh yeah, the plugs. I'm sorry about that. Go to the website, get the Kicked Out of Heaven. It's for $50 right now. Over 1,000 pictures, all in color, and it comes signed. All right. The Black Man's Bible is at theblackmansbible.com. And then also the DVDs at millenniumdvds.com. If you want to preserve real information, not only for you, but for your children. So don't be greedy and be reliant on the internet, for the sustenance of your intellect, when you have been given a provision for you to own this material so it can last for eons within your bloodline. Because if you don't get it today, 3-4 generations of your bloodline later on may be able to get that, may be able to get it. And it is mass security. Okay. And that's done by finances. So yeah, I don't mean to be long-winded, but go ahead.
Nah, man. When you first and foremost, I want to thank you. 1111. Thank you, Moni. I want to thank you for coming. You have a plethora of works and efforts in a multitude of mediums. It needs to be seen. You know what I mean? It needs to be experienced. It needs to be owned. What you have done for me is unprecedented. I cannot stress enough. You can see it repeatedly in the ticker, www.melanindvds.com.
Yeah, hey, your books are coming on. What's today? Saturday, Monday. They'll be shipped out.
Oh man, that's love. I greatly appreciate you. Because I'm gonna be getting at you in a minute, because I need everything from Bobby. You know what I'm saying? I need y'all to understand, like, shout out to Adika Butler, because he's given away more from his personal collection, especially of Bobby Hemmett, than anybody I know. But Bobby has so many, and this is just Bobby. This is just Bobby. Bobby has so many lectures. It's next to impossible to have them all. So you really need to get what you can get where you can get it. Shout out to Serious Times Media. Please check out and support their Patreon. But you have, that I know, 60 alone from Bobby. And you have hundreds of lecturers, and that's just in the consciousness. That's not the documentaries, that's not the cartoons, that's not the movies, that's not the TV series, the music, the documentaries.
Yeah, I
shout
got
out.
the whole Soul Train. I got the original Jack Johnson boxing matches in black and white. I got all the comedians. I have, I have a ton of stuff, but a lot of it's ignored. I have all of Dr. Seavy's DVDs. I have Laylo Africa's DVDs. I have Francis Cresswell Sings. I have John Henry Clark, Yosef Ben Yakinen, Ishikamusa Barashango. I have all of those films, and I can't say I have all of them of each lecturer, but I do have a mass amount, and it goes overlooked, bro. It's definitely overlooked.
And that is exactly why I am stressing, check that out. There are multiple ways to support. Please like and share the video. And please check out Keenan's works. Check out his music. It is on all streaming platforms. It is here on YouTube. Check out his websites. Check out his massive amount of work. You will not be disappointed. I thank you again for joining us. This will not be the last time. And I want to take us out with one more clip. And I want to say love, peace, and power to everyone. And enjoy what you got while you got it. Don't take time for granted. If you can raise your hand as highest, raise it highest first. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because and I appreciate you inviting me back, and we're going to be having many more conversations because you can't judge somebody off of one conversation. You got to have explanation in a lot of different areas, especially from what I've done. So expect those books to be at your door next week, and then just write up your questions. I thought you were going to have some questions on the Encyclopedia on the Alchemy of Women. So have some questions written up, man. Let's do it, man. Put me up against the wall, put me on the cross, we'll see. Because it's funny I said that because one of the epiphanies that I ran into last month was Saint Dismas. Saint Dismas was the great thief who was on the cross next to Jesus when he died on Golgotha Hill. And the great thief is actually the first saint. And the first saint, his patronages are lifers in prison, and criminals and lawyers and everything that's dealing with the prison system basically is underneath Saint Dismas. So it's funny that that information just came through before we closed out. But yeah, let's do it like that, man. Let's go ahead and give the people some more explanations, because you want to talk about the 12-week thing we did with that I did with Philip Shock Matthews. It could be way greater here. Who knows? It all it's all going to be dependent upon what you're interested in, because I have a ton of stuff in that series that hasn't been touched on by anybody.
Indeed, and it has to be brought out. It has to be revered. It has to be questioned, if nothing else. You know what I mean? But if we don't have these conversations, if we don't have these displays, then it sits on the shelf, and that's just a travesty. So we're going to do something about that. I want to say thank you again to everybody who was joining us tonight, who is joining us tonight. I cannot thank you enough. I want to say, please check out my Patreon, Konami Codes. Check out the Telegram that is connected, the digital library. For $3 a month, you get access to over 30,000 books. If I don't have it, I will find it. Script, Amazon, they're nice, they're wonderful. I have them myself, but you can't really find everything there. You'd be surprised what you might find in my library. Come check it out. Shout out to Darren Valenti, late as always, but I'm happy to see you, bruh. You know what, Cherie? You are right. I am a one-man bandstand over here. I have been inoculated with readings as of lately, and I couldn't be more thankful. So my time has not really been my own. So I'll see what I can do about that for next week. Because if nothing else, I want links for everybody that I mentioned in the opening of the video. So you can all see, this ain't about me. This is about understanding what your people have done and are doing, especially in their brilliance. If it's not that I'm not concerned. Stop apologizing, homie. I'm just glad you showed up. I want to say love, peace, and power to everybody, man. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Take care of each other and take care of yourself.
Absolute clear. You do not rely on books as the be all and end all, but they are the beginning of expanding your thought process to have something to be wise about. Don't be wise about Kamites from before that you never knew, and don't even fucking know if any of that shit's true. All speculation. They knew how to fly. You've never seen one fly. You know, you got to be real with that shit. So perhaps, and all signs point to yes. But what's absolutely clear is your ass ain't flying nowhere. You flying on the highway so you don't lose that job at Wendy's. Hamburgers got to get done, nigga.
Yeah.
Hamburgers got to get done.
Yeah, my bad. Let me mute my shit.
Shout out to Patty.
Yeah, real nigga vibe up in there. That's called real nigga etiquette right there. Where he was spitting nigga a book. Okay, nigga. Yeah. Okay.
Love, peace, and power, y'all. Y'all have a good night, man.